reality is what I call the 4 truths of healthcare. So I'd like to walk you through that right now. There are 4 specific truths that you need to know, and you do not need to write these down. I'm just reminding you about them. Truth number 1. Now this is very hard for me to tell you this. So I want you to know I'm going to apologize up front for being the one to have to bring you this information. But here's the truth. Nobody wants what you do. Nobody wants what you do. Nobody wants to disrupt their day and come and sit in a reception area and wait to be seen. Nobody wants to have anything stuck in their body that doesn't belong there. Nobody wants to get naked in front of a stranger. Well, maybe some people do, but most people don't. Nobody wants what you do. And I really need you to think about that for a second, because one of the things that drives patients crazy is this Pollyanna approach that says, okay, cool, now I'm going to hurt you. You know, nobody wants what you do. So there's no point in pretending that what you do is something anybody wants. Stop selling what you do. Stop selling your services because nobody wants to buy them. Okay? Now, there is good news. The good news is truth number 2. Truth number 2 is simply, everybody wants what they will get because of what you do. What do they get? They get a better life. They get more time. They get more time. When you think about what you really give people, it's time. And they get to decide how they're going to use that time. That's their job. Your job is to help them. Help them to have the time. Help them to have the time with as little pain as possible, with as much energy as possible, to have a richness and a quality and a quantity of their years, yeah? Everybody wants that. So that's what you sell. Instead of saying things like, come on, let's go back and do your test, which nobody wants. How about, come on, let's go back and see how we can get you some more really good years. I'm talking about speaking in a language that helps patients to know that you get it. I'm not talking about speaking in a language that's salesy, that's motivational, hoo-ha, positive nonsense. I'm talking about real life, what people really want. And if you stop and think about it, they don't want anything differently than you, do they? So basically, bottom line, I'm going to tell you what's the whole bottom line of this whole program. We want you to start thinking about what people really want. Not what you do, but what people want. And that starts with the people in this room. Now, there is a third truth of healthcare that I need you to know. Number 3, every patient and referring doctor wants to feel safe and know that she or he is important to you. Now, I know that you know this, but do you know that it's important enough to be one of the 4 truths? In today's healthcare environment, we have succeeded in taking away the humanity of healthcare. Between managed care and billing and numbers and numbers and numbers, in creating group practices where there's more than one doctor that they're going to see in any given hour, especially in this practice, it's a challenge to remember the humanity. And by that I mean that every single individual person that you treat has a whole bunch of people out there who would be devastated if anything happened to them. It's easy to think that what's happening in our life right now is the most important thing. That we've got a schedule to keep, that we're behind schedule, that we're missing records, that we can't find what we need when we need it at the moment that we need it, and that if we don't do it well, somebody's going to get mad at us. That's the only thing that's really important. The problem is that everybody has something that's really important to them. And the problem in this practice, from the doctors, through the management, through the employees, you guys have one major, major problem. You behave as if your important things are the only important things. I'd like to help you think about changing that by simply reminding you about what you already know, which is that everybody's important things are important to them. No more important than yours, but important to them. And because you're the ones who are serving your customers, if you will, you're the ones who have the responsibility to help them to know that their important is important to you. That's why you get the big bucks. Okay? So, with that, I want to give you the fourth truth of healthcare, which is, if you don't provide the experience that people want, they will run at top speed to someone who will. Because in today's healthcare environment, there's enough competition that people don't have to settle. And isn't it convenient that your competition really isn't very far away, is it? So how hard is it if I don't like what you're giving me to go somewhere else? Patients, hospitalists, referring doctors all know this. And they're all biting at your heels, waiting for you to mess up, because that's the game. That's the competitive spirit of America, for goodness sakes. How can we be more successful than you? Right? So if you'll stop for a moment and stop thinking about healthcare and stop thinking about patients for just a second and think about the business of this. There's a very famous motivational speaker by the name of Zig Ziglar. Have any of you ever heard of him? Okay. Zig is very famous for saying, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you've always got. And with all due respect to Zig, I disagree. Because in business, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you will no longer get what you always got. They're going to get it. Even the most successful practices, if they rest on their laurels, their competitors begin to notice what they're doing and copy them. So now you're not the only game in town doing what you do. Now there's other people who are trying to share your piece of the pie, so you have to do even better to try and get more market share. So the next thing you know, you're constantly having to move and shift and grow just to stay where you were, let alone to increase your success.